Tony, have you ever played Buck Thunder 2 Xeno Slaughter?
No, it sounds great though. Is this not one of those
Oh, this is a boomer
old school
shooter,
shooters?
old school boomer shooter, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Tangerine. Except your enemy is your ex-wife. Um, this is High on Life. So the game actually starts with you playing a boomer shooter, where you're fighting your ex-wife, and um, this is a series I'm going to call Leaving Pass, where every like couple of weeks there's a bunch of new games that get added to Game Pass, but a bunch of games that have to be removed because their licenses are scaling. It's like I love this part where he's like use the double jump and he's like,
Yeah, that's
oh, actually,
funny.
we
That's
don't
no
have
double
the
jump.
budget for double jump. You're gonna have to crouch instead. Also, can I say, I this pisses me off. I'm sure it's just me, but it's control to crouch, not C, and it's E to
Yeah.
use, not F. That's just how I do it in every game, and it pisses me off.
I
When I
don't
go when I go
don't
to a
mind any
fucking
difference
game and
games.
it goes, you cannot rebind it, it pisses me the
Yeah,
fuck
that's
off.
stupid. Yeah, that is stupid. There's no reason for that.
Like, I get it. Maybe you, you were dropped on the head as a child, and you think that it should be F to interact, and
Well, I just think you don't need to interact that often, so I'd like to have EA open up
I
for other
just
stuff
have,
that's maybe
I've
more
just forever
useful.
had the muscle memory of E to interact. I mean, when you talk about key binding, it's such a decisive issue. Like in League of Legends,
Oh yeah.
there's two summoner spells for the D and the F key, and people would go to war with you if you had your summoner, like, because you almost always have flash, right? And people are like, oh, it's F for flash, you should put it on F. And people are like, no, 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 I put it on D. And people are like, why the fuck do you put it on D? That's insane. It's F for flash. And I was a person who had it on D. I just got used to having it on D. And I was like, well, sometimes I take ignite, so it's F for fire, you know?
I just think it doesn't really matter. Just get used to whatever. I have reasons like I think in most games like E is fine, like but it's some games like when he does a
I
bunch.
kind of think the
I
start of High on
beforehand.
Life, like, I like this more than the actual game.
Hmm.
It's just stupid. I'm
I
sure it'd get tired after a while, but I would love to see, like,
no, I would
this
love to see
style of
that.
humor as, like, just a
Yeah.
retro boomer show. I think that'd be interesting.
I think I should start say like I'm not the biggest fan of
You're
like,
not, like, a
Rick and
fan of,
Morty
like...
style comedy.
Yeah, it's kind. So this game was really popular, and then Rick and Morty was really popular, and then Justin Roiland was like, he was getting like sued by his ex-girlfriend for abuse, and
Yeah.
I think
Not
there
a
was
good
text
look.
coming out for them with, was he texting minors maybe? I don't know the full story, but basically.
I don't know. Yeah, I didn't follow it, but I don't know what came out of it.
Basically, he's been replaced
Was not
on.
good.
He's been
Yeah.
replaced on Rick and Morty now, so he doesn't make Rick and Morty. And I think he's no longer part of Squanch Tendo Games, which is
okay.
the people who make these games. So,
Yeah.
because I think they did a DLC for this game, and it doesn't have Justin Roiland on it. Because he also does
Oh,
he does the voice of the main gun Kenny. He does the voice of most of the like random characters in the game. He does the voice of Rick
Yeah.
and Morty in that show. But the big reveal, Tony, is that you're actually playing a game inside High on Life.
Yeah, I just want to say, but as we're now pulling away from that, I find the comedy of that first part is much more up my alley than the rest of the game. I just want to say that go again in case people are like, oh, why
I
am I
mean,
not saying
I
that?
think with the like Rick and Morty style humor, it's very hit or miss because it is so random
Yeah.
that it's almost like
It's fine.
I don't know,
Well,
like like it reminds me of like Tim and Eric or like Eric Andre, where it's just like some of the sketches
Yeah.
I'm like, these are some of the funniest shit I've ever seen, and then sometimes it's like
My
it doesn't resonate with me.
Okay, we're totally
my issue is that even the like Eric Andre, I'm like yeah, I have the same thing. It's like some of it's like just really good, some of it's like it's not really for me. But the problem I have with these sort of things is like, well, the Rick and Morty style humor is like people go, oh, this is really good. I just there, it's like yeah, I guess that's a joke technically, yeah. I just think it's just not for me at all.
Like you wanted me to explain some of the points I found funny because you went. There was this
Yeah.
great part where you have to. There's a guy in the main town who sells alien cum, and he's like, he literally comes up to you and goes, "Hey, do you want to buy alien cum? There's actually a lot of different. They recorded like a bunch of different interactions with characters. So they were like, based on what you say, they will say very different things. Or I know there's very different. There's a relationship in the story that can go like completely different ways based on what you say to the characters. So they did record like a lot of dialogue with like almost multiple endings to sort of like side B stories in the plot. Some guy came up to me because like some guy came up to me and was like, "You want to buy some alien cum?" And I was like, "Yes." And he's like, "What? Really? You're just gonna buy it like that?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Oh, okay. Here you go." There's also an achievement
that's
for complete. There's an achievement for completing the game with the special specimen. So if you complete the game with the alien cum in your inventory, then you actually get an achievement. But he has a brother.
The stuff I appreciate is like with response to you. I think it's fine.
But he has a brother who, in order to infiltrate the evil, basically, okay, I should explain the main story. The main story of the game is there's these aliens that invade Earth because they get high by smoking different alien races, and they just discover that humans get them like the best insane high. So they take over Earth and they basically enslave everyone. You manage to get away at the last second because you find Kenny the gun and you uninhibit him, and he helps you steal a warp core and go to another planet where you find Gene, who's a retired bounty hunter, and then he helps you basically start to do bounties and in order to take down the G7, I think they're called, who are the drug cartel that's taking over Earth. But another point, so you're infiltrating one of the G7's bases, and you find the brother of the guy that sells alien cum, and he, you need to get shit on by this giant alien in order to cover yourself in this goo that disguises yourself, and to get into the base. And you find out they have a third brother, and he's like, "Oh yeah, we have another brother. He's really disappointed by us." And I was like, "That's so hilarious that there's a guy that sells alien cum, there's a guy that like sells you get shit on, and the third brother's good. Like, I'm so ashamed by you guys." But in that same town, because there's random adverts on the television all the time, right? Of just the most there's entire films on this. You watched Demon Wind with me, didn't you?
Yeah,
in the cinema with the like. I think because I was like,
and the other one,
Vampire Hookers.
Yes.
Yes, which features one of the longest sex scenes I've ever seen in a film.
Yes. It's
but
10 minutes.
I feel like with this game, I feel like the movement's okay, the shooting's okay, the humor's kind of hit and miss. It's a pretty like average game in a lot of senses. Like, and I almost feel like immediately, because I think I give it like 3 stars, like it's an average game, right? And then I almost want to give it 3.5 stars just because of the Red Letter Media commentary track in the cinema. I'm like,
that was a very good commentary track.
Mike explaining to me how this insane film works, as an alien.
I like when Rich is like, I thought about this before recording. Like, what? Recording? But
anyway,
and it's like,
you're infiltrating this area, and you go into this alien base, and you're like, oh fuck, I've got to shoot up a bunch of aliens. And you see on the TV, it's like, mothers against violence. All the mothers got together, and now this is a combat-free zone. All of the alien mothers decided we don't want people killing each other anymore. And then you go into the next area, and it's like, this area is controlled by the mothers for violence. All the mothers got together and decided we really like violence. And then you get to fight people again because this is the mothers for violence area. Yeah. And then there's a section where it's like, we've detected that there's an infiltrator in the base. So the mothers for violence and the mothers against violence have come together. And I guess that means violence. I guess we're just pro-violence now? Okay, I guess get him.
Yeah.
Like, there's shit like that I just think is fun. Or like, there's a universal translator that gets, if you get spit on by alien microbes, that lets you translate the alien languages.
Oh, that's the default.
Yeah.
It's not
a babblefish. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is your main gun, Kenny, and he is the first gun you get, and then you get different guns. So your first mission is your first bounty is to get 9 Torg, who's the head of like a bunch of bugs, and this gives you Knifey, who is like a suicidal knife. Well, he's like a psychotic knife that just wants to stab everyone, to a point where he's like, because Gene sends you to go and pick him up, right? And he's like, "Oh, can you get this knife for me?" And then he's like, "Yeah, I want to stab Gene in the gut. I want to stab Gene." I think it's like, is it like Michael Cusack is who plays him? Which is like a YouTuber and animator and stuff. There's a lot of like YouTubers, like I recognized Psychic Pebbles immediately when I met him inside the game. Who's like a big animator. And he even has a show on Adult Swim as well now. He does a show called Smiling Friends that also features Red Letter Media in it as well. So that's pretty cool. But there's lots of like cool animators and YouTubers and stuff that you would recognize. But he's like, I just want to stab him. I'm going to stab him in the stomach. And there was this prompt that was like, because the knife wants you to stab him in the stomach, and you can. And he's like, why the fuck did you do that? That wasn't cool. It's like, well, the knife told me to stab you, you know. But every gun has like its own special ability. So Kenny shoots like globs. And every ability is like a combat ability, and then it's like an ability for solving puzzles. Because it's sort of like every zone is a level where you fight your bounty, but then it's like full of collectibles. So the currency of space is pesos, and you can collect extra pesos in order to go to the alien store, which is voiced by the guy from the Mighty Boosh, which I was like, oh my god, it's
cool. Why is it not Spaceos?
Space, because pesos is funnier. The currency of intergalactic space would be pesos. I just Rich Fulcher, the guy who plays Bob Fossil, is like the shopkeeper, but he doesn't, because he has all this stuff in like his pawn store, and he's like, come in and buy stuff, but he's like, actually, I want that, so he refuses to sell you most of the stuff he has in the store, and it's like almost like mostly useless junk. Like I feel like a lot of the game is lifted up by the talented like comedians and actors that are in the films, because it is like heavy comedy, like animation based, and then like I would say like the gameplay is almost secondary to in a lot of respects. Like it's kind of weak. So like Kenny of his glob shot, which lets you shoot like doors down. You'll get like a shotgun that suits like saw blades, will let you jump on them in order to platform and unlock additional stuff. Or there's some of the guns kind of reminded me of Ratchet and Clank, where there was this gun that let you shoot like these little minions that would run at your target and then like it explode.
Oh, I think I see.
And then there was like an alt fire which let you control one, like mind control one.
Yeah.
Which I thought was really cool.
Ratchet and Clank 1 still things that you do that.
There's also like, I don't know how much you want to go into spoilers, but there's an ultimate weapon that's very funny. I could explain to you, I guess, if you don't want.
Well, I don't care about this.
If you don't want to know what the ultimate gun is, but it's basically a gun that will just like one shot everything on the screen, but it's basically been tortured on because they're experimenting on it, and they've fixed the vocal chip, and it just sounds like Arnold Schwarzenegger, and it just goes, "Let's do it." That's all it says.
That's cool.
So you just pull out, it's like, let's do it! And you just press this button and it just destroys everything on the screen. Like, there is some really funny stuff in this game.
Yeah.
But I was talking to my friend about this because he started playing. I was like, did you finish it? And he was like, I did, but then the game just gets kind of boring. And I'm like, yeah, certain parts of this game are just kind of boring. It's just... The movement gets a lot better as you play more and more, like as the game goes along. I would say it gets better, but there is sections where it's like, because like there's these distinct bounty sections where it's like, okay, you're teleporting to this planet and you're gonna go and kill this bounty, and then the game's like, okay, I've got a brand new bounty for you, and it's like, here's the exact same planet, but you're in a slightly different part, and sometimes you'll be going through the same parts you've already been through. It felt like they designed 3 of the planets distinctly, and they're like, oh, okay, we need more bounties. Let's just reuse these same assets again. Which I didn't like.
Models
as
up
much.
the scenery.
Yeah, like a lot of older games, like famously Halo, you will almost always like Halo Combat Evolved. It's like you one of the missions where you play through this mission forwards, and then you'll play through the mission again. It's like you now go through the mission backwards.
Yeah. I just feel like there's like a good way and a bad way to do it, 'cause I feel like the first Ratchet and Clank goes back to planets a lot, but like, but it's like a whole different level. Or like, I think the third planet you go to is like you can go 2 different directions. It's on the same planet but completely different. Like I think that's the right way to do it. It's like the same looking place but with different stuff because it's a nice location.
Yeah.
Not just literally, oh, I'm going back through the same part again because we don't remake assets.
But yeah, I generally like the music is pretty nice to this game. I think it does open up and get so that you can destroy these boxes. Once you get the knife, you can cut these open, and these are like a collectible. Like you can go in on 100% and collect all of the peso chests and talk to all the characters. But I was like, as soon as I was playing, I was like, okay, I think I'm just gonna finish this game and then I'll be done with it. Like I'm not 100%ing it, sort of thing. But there is some, like Psycho Mantis. There's one of the bosses where I don't know.
Oh, they know what you've done.
Yeah, there's one of the bosses that's like it's like a drug trip, like he's altering the game, and he's like, ha ha ha. I'm gonna edit your game and give you an achievement that says you spent 15 hours in an alien strip club. And there's an achievement you get in that boss fight that says you spent 15 hours in an alien strip club. So
that's pretty cool. I like that.
Like this genuinely is like a bunch of funny shit in this game. But yeah, that just like sometimes the in-between combat is not the greatest. Like the movement's not the greatest, and then like some of the random humor is just not funny. It's just not great. It is hit and miss. There's good stuff in the game, and then there's a bunch of mediocre stuff in the game, and then there's like some stuff that is just kind of annoying. Like some of the extended combat sections that they put you through, I was getting just like, okay, when is this going to be over? Like, I don't care anymore, sort of thing,
Yeah.
Like I think High on Life is a perfect Game Pass game, which I think is why it did really well when it came to Game Pass. Because it was like, well, I can just play it for like 5 minutes and I don't need to buy this game, sort of thing. I can just play through it once.
Yeah, it's quite a big commitment for this sort of thing.
Yeah. And yeah, I wasn't really interested in playing the DLC because I'd have to buy the DLC. And I was like, the game's okay, I'll just play something else, I guess.
Yeah. I think I appreciate it being made. I just think overall, like, there's definitely like bits like I find funny. The bits you've explained are definitely funny. But like, I think a lot of it, when I watched like you play and someone else who I watched play as well on Discord, it's like most of it I just don't find funny. It's just like more miss and less hit for me personally.
On personal note,
I appreciate it.
I generally am somebody who likes the I watch the show Rick and Morty. I think it's quite funny at certain parts, but yeah. It's cool. It's cool. The game's like I really liked the Rick and Morty VR game as well. I thought that was cool. There's Accounting Plus, which they did as well. But it's going to be interesting to see where Squanch Tendo Games goes now they've lost their main like creative director, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Because it was very much Justin Roiland's company. And then without him, I don't know what the hell they did the High on Knife DLC, but people was like, it's kind of weird that Kenny's not there, considering he's like one of the main characters of the first game, and it's not as strong.
Yeah. I guess it's going to be less, but surely there must be like some talent in the team other than the lead. So.
Yeah, let's move on. Next up we have Bramble the Mountain King. This is one I heard about for a while, that it was like a interesting little, like a Limbo Inside kind of like game.
Atmospheric.
Yeah, atmospheric, light platforming. Small puzzles with like big cinematic action scenes that happen.
I'm telling you now, one day we'll get a name for this genre/subgenre. We don't have one yet.
Limbo-like. Didn't we try and do this? Limbo-like.
Yeah, I in my category on Steam, I have Limbo-like. Like I have actually called it that.
But it kind of reminded me of games, or like Little Nightmares, which I wasn't a big
Yeah.
fan of the Little Nightmares game because that game felt really frustrating to play.
Is there a second one?
There's 3 Little Nightmares games.
What?
I think because like if I was directly compare this game to Little Nightmares, I think like aesthetically Little Nightmares is really good looking, and I think it
Yes.
looks a lot better than this game. But I think like mechanically, I much more enjoyed this game because I think one of the big things for
Less
me
frustrating.
was So in Little Nightmares, when you would fail a section, it'd be like, okay, you got caught by this monster right at the end of this section. Go all the way back to the beginning and do it again. And it would have like really janky controls.
I was watching someone do it, and I was like, I couldn't figure out what you were actually supposed to do. It was like, so you just get to. I just watched them like die over and over again. I was like, what are you supposed to do?
But this game has like, okay, here's frequent checkpoints. You got through this phase of the boss, cool. You're done with this phase of the boss. Here's a checkpoint. Like, it's actually very respectful to the player's time. It feels like Bramble the Mountain King. So if you don't know, it's actually set on a bunch of grim adventures based on Nordic fables. So it was interesting because when I played Hellblade, it was like, oh, here's a bunch of Viking and like Celtic lore that I didn't know about, and I was playing this, I was like, oh, it's like Scandinavian lore that I didn't know about. And after, because it starts off very light, like in terms of, oh, you've lost your sister, you're going to go into a field, and then it's like, and now I'm walking through a river of flesh and blood, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Like, I was talking to my one of my Swedish friends. I was like, what the fuck is wrong with Swedish people? Like, these are the stories they're telling their kids. Like, what the hell?
The problem is it gets dark for 6 months of the year.
Yeah. And then you have like a woman who lures you into the woods and ritualistically murders you, and fucking these giant trolls that butcher you.
So basically, just don't go into the woods. Don't go alone. Don't go in the woods.
Yeah.
Don't get lured away.
Because like I think within the first hour, I was like, okay, I don't know if I'm going to keep playing this because it's just sort of very simple, push forward, keep going. But then like it definitely gets more interesting as it goes along, and it starts to get a bit darker, and it's like, oh, okay.
It's a simple, so when it starts getting darker, you're like, oh, this is actually...
Yeah, because it basically, the main core gameplay is there'll be sections where you need to outrun like a giant monster thing. There'll be sections where you need to stealth past some monsters. There's a section where you need to find hidden gnomes, which gnomes are a big thing in Nordic culture. Or there'll be like puzzle sections where you need to brew like a potion in a certain order. Like, it's very simple like gameplay, but like I think I kept going because I was like, oh, I'm learning about this interesting like Nordic lore about the children and adults get told over there, that I'm like, oh, this is interesting. I've never heard about this. So again, to experience it in like a more interactive format it was pretty interesting. Did you ever watch that show? Did you ever watch that show called Grimm with like?
Yes, I have watched the show. All of it.
And a lot of the stories were based on actual fables.
Yes,
which I thought was pretty.
A lot of it was actually, but so the earlier stuff was like based on like actual grim fairy tales, but like the actual. There was
German. It was Brothers Grimm.
German
was like German fables, right?
Because a lot of it's like from the Black Forest, like that's like where a lot of stuff, at least in that show, it was like everything was centered around the Black Forest originally.
So I said to my Swedish friend Marta, I was like, is there a thing about dancing pine cones in Swedish lore? And he was like, what the fuck are you talking about? I was like, well, that's what I'm seeing right now.
You're on some shrooms.
Yeah.
Dancing pine cone. Yeah, how do you come up with it? Like, you have to be on shrooms to think of some of these things, right?
Yeah. But then, what was I going to say?
Moonlight looks really good here, though. I've not seen moonlit stuff look that good that often, but this looks quite good.
Yeah, it's well, like, positioned for the camera.
Really yeah.
Because I think this is an Unreal Engine 4 game. This came out last year. So I think this is like the limitations of Unreal Engine 4. But I think you could do something really
Yeah.
impressive with like Unreal Engine 5 for
Oh
sure.
yeah, for sure.
Um,
This is pretty good as well, though.
yeah.
I think the hut looked not as good, but I think this actually does like the vegetation looks really good.
Yeah.
Like it's nice
Basically,
and
the
stylized.
basic story is your sister gets lost. You run to the woods to look after her, and then you find out about Bramble, the Mountain King, and you find this glimmer of hope. And the glimmer of hope is what you are using to sort of like fight off the. So like it's a big thing. Like I kind of want to draw parallels to Hellblade, but it's like a big theme in that is using light to fight the darkness because you need to find torches to stop the darkness getting to you. A lot of the time,
Like inner light sort of thing.
yeah, well, like literal torches. But in this game, it's like you have
okay,
this stone that's like a glimmer of hope, and it's like your flashlight, but it's also your tool to fight the darkness off, sort of thing.
Right, just like Alan Wake.
Because I think this company is Swedish. Because my friend Martin was like, "Have you heard the Swedish song yet?" I was like, "What?" And he was like, "Yeah, they sing this song in Swedish, and I have it on my playlist." And I was like, "Have you played this game?" And he was like, "No, I just really like the song because it's like a famous Swedish song." I was like, "Okay." I was like, "Yeah, it sounds all right." I had no idea what they were saying, but yeah, it sounded all right.
You just be Swedish.
Yeah. Well, you get to play as a little
it's
blonde
half
boy
decent,
running around, Sweden.
No, I never heard of this, but it actually seemed interesting.
Yeah, it's very simple
how
mechanically.
long was it?
I don't think it was very. Let me check my backlog because I have
A couple
time
of
somehow.
hours sort of thing.
Because High on Life took me, I think, about 8 to 10 hours. Let me just check my backlog
really?
quickly. 4 hours. So yeah, I heard it was a pretty short game as well. So it only took about 4 hours to compete. High on Life took me 11 hours. It says on here.
Yeah, but 3 of those hours were watching films.
It's not too much cutscenes to be fair. Oh, here's the gnome hunting. Log in. Because it's very light in the beginning. It is like, oh, I'm with my sister and I'm going to go and hunt some gnomes in the forest. There's little rapscallions and it's like, oh, there's a giant, horrible creatures
creepy.
in the woods watching me.
That is creepy. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah. Wait, there's the... Hang on, I'll go back a bit.
Oh my
Your sister
God.
gets taken by a troll? But I wanted to show you, because you make friends with the Frog King, of course, so he helps you out.
Oh, thank God.
So
You
this is
already
like,
ended the program.
look at this section.
Oh my God, that's disgusting.
And tell me it's like, I looked at this and I was like, I feel like I'm playing like fucking Silent Hill or something right now.
Yeah.
But it's almost, it has like that like little nightmares where it's like, oh, it's like a cute limbo inside, and it's like, oh, this is horrifying. There is a giant troll, and there's like brutal death animations as well. Like if he's trying to hit you with his butcher saw, and if he fucking hits you, he's like, oh, you just got cut in fucking half because you didn't dodge the saw. It's like, that's what I feel like with like Nordic culture. It's like, oh, you'll have like little gnomes and creatures and stuff like that. But if you go out past 11 o'clock, a creature will come and rip you apart and eat your entrails.
You're dead. Oh.
Yeah. But this, no, like straight up, there's a content warning at the start of this game, Tony, because this game literally deals with themes of suicide, infanticide, the murdering of small children, like really dark issues. And like if you just saw the start of the game, you would be like, what the fuck is happening?
You'd be prepared for it.
But yeah, it's very simple, but it is quite fun. And it's quite short as well. So this one was leaving, and I was like, I'll check it out.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I gave this one 3.5 stars. I thought it was pretty good.
Okay.
Yep. Let's move on to the
7
next
out of
one.
10.
Loot River. This was one that was leaving Game Pass. I decided to check it out. So Tony, Pac-Man Museum Plus actually was a game that was leaving Game Pass. And I decided
Oh,
to check it
that's
out.
what happened.
But that just fucking turned into the Pac-Man Tangerine because I was like, I have to play
Yeah.
every Pac-Man game now. So like sometimes I'll just check out a game that's leaving Game Pass and I'll be like, oh, and it'll just balloon into something special. But
Quest accepted.
most of the games have been like, this is okay to, I didn't really like this. And I think Loot River is sort of on that more of, I wasn't a big fan of this. So it's basically a roguelike game where you travel, the entire place is set on a river, and you travel across the river on these rafts that are set up almost like Tetris pieces.
Yeah.
And
cool.
your progression gets blocked based on how these Tetris pieces are placed. But I will say, as a puzzle thing, I really don't like sliding block puzzles. It's something that I don't enjoy generally in games.
I'm looking at this like it just seems satisfying to move the sliding blocks. So I kind of want to check this out maybe.
I would recommend you try it because I think
Yeah.
you would get tired of it very quickly.
That's fair.
Like I don't know if there's a demo of it.
Depends on how good the traversal is.
But the way it's set up is it's not like a campaign thing. It's like a roguelite. So you start and you fight through a bunch of enemies, and then when you die, you go back to a town, and you can you can buy new weapons to use. But I don't think there's not really that much rogue light elements where it's like, you know, like with like a Rogue Legacy or something, you can like upgrade your character massively while it's still being roguelite.
Yes.
This game doesn't seem to have too much progression. It's more so just keep going until you get better and try new weapons sort of thing. So like, I think for me, like, I really wasn't a fan of the sliding block puzzles, which was like a big thing that I didn't like.
Okay. I could definitely vibe with the sliding blocks, but
I wasn't a big fan of the combat.
There's no
which I didn't really like that much. I think, well, you can get further into the area and there is new weapons you can unlock, but for the most part, I was like, doesn't... Like, I was like, I could replay this 100 times over, but I also can't because this game's leaving Game Pass in a week. So I'm not going to put more time into this, and from what I've played so far, it hasn't really grabbed me. So I'm just going to put this down. And yeah, it is pretty janky because there's like you can like parry, but the most time I found, yes, I believe so. And the most of the time, the best thing to do was to just, you know how you can like move the platforms back and forth, was to like move the platform towards the enemies so they would come towards you, attack them, move the platform back, move the platform forward so they can attack you as soon as they're about to hit you, just move the platform away. You can't hit me anymore. And it's like, this is so like janky and cheesy. It was like, this feels dumb.
Yeah, it's like if like the idea is you're not meant to fight that often, you're meant to like use puzzles to clear out enemies more often, that maybe that would make sense, but that does sound a bit janky.
Yeah. It's just like a lot of the dungeons were like these big open areas with all these platforms, but it feels like they're kind of empty. Yeah. And it was roguelite as well. Like so if I spent like 15 minutes solving a sliding block puzzle and it's like, well, I just died, so I've got to do that again with like a different procedurally generated sliding block puzzle or whatever, right?
I think this makes way more sense if it's just handcrafted levels that you then like explored. Yeah. Because
this was like this is like a Souls-like game as well. Because it's like
with the stats and the
combat and the parry and stuff like that, right?
Is there you have like a poise value or like a poise number?
I think like it is one of those games where it feels like it has potential, but it feels like a misexecution is what I would say. Like the combat like the movement doesn't feel very good. The combat doesn't feel very good, and then you go, okay, what's the main mechanic? It's the sliding block puzzles, and it's like they get old very quickly, and I'm someone who doesn't like sliding block puzzles anyway.
Yeah, if it's procedure generated, that I could see. What's the point? You're not progressing through. So you're not completing. You're not getting you're not going forward. Which like
I don't know. I just felt
actually
everything felt kind of clunky. So I was like, okay, this is one I don't mind if it's leaving Game Pass, you know.
Yeah.
And let's talk about a final one. Ravenlok. Okay, so I can't pull up the Steam page for Ravenlok because this game is a Game Pass and Epic Games Store exclusive. So if you want to play this now, you've got to get it on Epic Games because it's no longer on Game Pass. I guess you can get it on Microsoft Store.
Oh, is it still there? I guess.
Yeah. Well, usually what happens when a game goes off Game
I never even
Pass,
considered that.
it'll go on sale on the Microsoft Store, and you get a sale.
Yeah.
If you have Game Pass, you get a discount on games in the Microsoft Store.
I'm gonna be honest. I didn't even think that they sold games on the store. I wasn't even considering that. I find that actually surprised me. Interesting.
Well, this game pissed me off so much that I wrote a review for it on my backlog profile.
Wait, it's okay. So what's so bad about it?
So Tony, you know, I said,
this game?
I said, I want to give up more on bad games. This is a game where I was like, I definitely should give up on this because I was not enjoying this. I gave it 1 star, I gave it the abandoned tag. I said, I thought the start of the game was meant to be boring to wow you when you went from a boring life to a world of adventure. Because you start off and you start in this area and it's like your dad's like, hey, can you move these boxes around for me? I need your help. And it's like, oh, okay. It's a story about a kid that's in a really boring life. You're gonna go into you go into this mirror and you're in like this really amazing world. It's like, wow. So I was like, oh, okay. They're doing like juxtaposition between this boring life and this amazing adventure world. Turns out it did not. It's just more boring walking around giving characters items and then standing next to them and spamming attack in combat in order to kill enemies. And that's really all there is to this game. Yeah, it was just really fucking boring. Because I saw the trailer for it, I was like, oh, like I like the look of the art style. And I was like, oh, it's a story where you go into like this like fancy world that's almost like Alice in Wonderland. And I was like, that sounds interesting. Execution-wise, very poor. It is really repetitive, really boring. God, yeah, I just didn't like this game at all. And I was not sad to see this game leave Game Pass.
Wait, so you wrote a small review? Like, is it?
I read out the review to you just now.
Yeah, is that it's just like the couple of paragraphs then.
Yeah, because I was like, I want to review this game on the review page for Backlogged GG and be like, look, don't play this game. Don't, because I can't, because it doesn't have a Steam page, so you can't like leave reviews there. It has an Epic page and a Microsoft Store page. And I was like, well, I have to tell people about this game somehow because this game sucks.
Because Epic has the official review system, right? It's like
Open Critic on. There's like a little review thing where you can say like this game is exciting, or you can leave like
that does not count. That's the same thing as the tag stuff. I'm saying that doesn't count as review. But can you actually on Open Thing like as a normal user write a review, or that doesn't count?
There's user reviews on like Metacritic. There probably is on OpenCritic as well. I don't know. I've never used it.
I just feel like no one really uses it, so it's just closed off and less easy to get. It's like, why not just
I can check now.
To the store.
There's critic reviews on OpenCritic. I don't see user reviews.
I appreciate OpenCritic like being like integrated into the store, but I just want there to be easy to access customer reviews, like everyday reviews. I think they're just so useful.
No, I think if you want user reviews, you need to go to Metacritic because I think Metacritic has user reviews.
Let me check. They do. But you still have to sign in on a separate account or on a separate like site though. It's not as convenient.
Let's have a look. Yeah, there's user reviews on Metacritic.
Okay. So that's how you would have to do it.
Yeah. Well, I'll show you the adventure, the Alice in Wonderland Adventureland.
So you go through the looking glass.
Yep.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, the aesthetic is definitely interesting. I'm not doing anything.
It's like a tutorialized area, I guess. Perfect. You completed the tutorial.
Yeah, it's a shame when pretty games are boring.
Yeah. Trying to show you some of the combat to be like, look.
Butterfly, bee, woman.
Here's some of the combat.
Oh, okay.
You just kind of spam
Just
one
that
button,
spam, yeah.
and it's the best thing to do. They
That's
kind of,
what I mean. It's decent
yeah.
animation, I suppose, but that does look boring.
Yeah. That's Ravenlok. I don't think there's much point to playing it. I mean, if you want like a kind of boring exploration adventure game, then yeah, check it out on the Epic Games Store or the Microsoft Store, I guess. But yeah, I wouldn't recommend it personally. But yeah, that's Tangerine Leaving Pass. So I might do more of these. I am actually currently playing another game that's leaving Game Pass. It's the. Do you remember that game that was like a Metroidvania where you play as a rabbit in like a almost like a cyberpunk world, and it was like a Chinese developed game. It was called Fist. If you looked it up, you might remember it. But I was like, it was like produced by Billy Games. And I'm like, right, that's it. I got to play this Chinese rabbit Metroidvania games.
Yeah.
But I might check out because I find that I find myself like the more I play games that are coming off Game Pass, the more I'm like getting stuck in playing games that are coming off Game Pass because I'm like, well, I'm going to lose access to this if I don't play this in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And it's good because it's like with High on Life, I wanted to play that for the longest time, but I was really stalling on it. I was like, oh, it's on Game Pass, I'll just play it at some point. And it was like, it's going off, and I'm like, well, I gotta play it now. But sometimes it's like, oh, I want to play some of the new games, but I'm like, well, if I play the new games, I'm missing out on the games that are leaving. But whenever I'm playing games that are leaving, I'm using up time that I have to play the games that are on there, and then eventually they'll be leaving. So maybe I should just play games that I want to play and not be so FOMO about games that are leaving Game Pass. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see. But yeah.
On the next, Tangerine.
We'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.